Hello and welcome to the Channel's Book Club. A literary festival, also known as a book festival or writers' festival, is a regular gathering of writers and readers, typically on an annual basis in a particular city. It usually features a variety of presentations and readings by authors, as well as other events delivered over a period of several days, with the primary objective of fostering a love of literature and writing. As far as the African continent is concerned, Nigeria is taking a leading role in hosting some of the biggest and most vibrant book festivals you can find. The three top book festivals in the country are the Lagos Book and Art Festival in Lagos, the Port Harcourt Book Festival, which holds in Port Harcourt, south of Nigeria, and the Ake Book and Arts Festival, which holds in Abeokuta, southwest of Nigeria. Behind these events are some of the most exceptional men and women the country has ever produced. Like committed missionaries, they are dedicated to promoting the country's literary culture and fostering interest in literature. Today's episode is dedicated to them and the festivals they sacrifice a lot to organize, so as to make the world pay attention to Nigerian literature and arts. Please join us after this break. The oldest running book and art festival in Nigeria and one of the most popular in Africa is the Lagos Book and Art Festival, LABAF. This year's edition is the 16th edition of the festival and will take place between November 14 and 16 in Lagos. Toyin Akinsho and Jahman Anikulapo pioneered this festival. They joined us to tell its story and share their thoughts on a number of related issues around the festival. Enjoy the interview. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Channel's Book Club.
Thank you.
It's really nice to have the two of you on this show. Really nice to have you. Let's talk about how this whole experience of organizing Nigeria's longest running book and art festival started. I'm always fascinated. You've done it 16 years now. And I know in Nigeria that's a tough thing to do, to run a book festival for 16 years. How did it start with you?
The Lagos Book and Art Festival is a product of the Committee for Relevant Art, which started in 1991, June 2nd, 1991. And the whole idea is to bring issue about the arts, about culture to public space in terms of discussion, and then to get the public to buy into the idea of the arts and culture. We always say that we want the arts and culture as an industry or as a creative, as a sector of the economy to become just like business sector, to become like, what you see for business, for politics and the rest of them, to become a staple. Okay. That was what Cora started with in 1991, although I'm sure Toyin, who founded Cora, will give more about that. But then in 1999, we're coming back to democracy as a country. And then Chinua Achebe was returning for the first time after the accident in 1991. And we thought the return of Achebe himself should be something that the nation should celebrate, should mark with some kind of a program that would be symbolic. So we thought about this National Creativity Day. And it was an idea we sold to the government, to the federal government, to do, and they bought into it, and they launched the National Creativity Day, September 14 of every year, which means that this festival actually started with welcoming Achebe back to the country. But underneath it, and very more importantly, is about the idea of Nigeria returning to the era of free speech. Okay, we are coming back to democracy, everything should be free, and liberty, and the rest of them. And so these two things are mixed. So the first one was done on September 14, 1999. Okay. And the idea is to have an open space where you bring every artist, whether you're a writer, you are a painter, you are a textile designer, you're a craftsman, whatever you do that has to do with creativity, bring it out. Because creativity itself is an idea. It's an idea that celebrates the idea of the notion of freedom. So you come to the open space okay, where you bring all your creative wares, and that's when we started at the National Museum in Lagos in 1999. That was where the whole idea of the Lagos Book and Art Festival started. But fundamentally, it's about celebrating freedom of expression. It's about celebrating freedom of creativity. It's about celebrating liberty as such.
Let's set the record straight.
Yep.
So, the Lagos Book and Art Festival, is it the first in Nigeria? Or were there other book festivals back then? Or were there book festivals before? If we were going to contextualize the festival in Nigeria's contemporary history, how would you describe? Is it the first book and art festival?
We need to be very careful with definitions. There was, as when we were growing up, there was the Ife Book Fair. Okay. It was big, massive, the biggest on the continent. I first attended the Ife Book Fair in 1984. I had already left the university before I actually attended Ife Book Fair itself. Mm-hmm. But it was the demise of Ife Book Fair that the Harare Book Fair, and these are fairs, sort of stepped into. So people used to say, why, did Ife stop? I mean, Ife stopped basically, I guess, we were having a lot of challenges in the country. They weren't able to properly fund it anymore. So, but that we need to emphasize, it didn't have programming at the level that we now began to do programming. Basically, most of those things were, the idea was to have a space where you had authors, where you had, publishers, and the idea of the book trade happening is like what you have the film market as opposed to be film festival. Film festivals have cineasts and, filmmakers hanging, watching screenings, having a conversation, whereas, a market basically also sells, ideas, book. You basically sell your script and you get someone to. So it's different. Now, when we came up with the book, the Lagos Book and Art Festival, the same set of people, or some of those same people who were running the Ife Book Fair were also trying to come back to start the Nigerian International Book Fair. I repeat, fair. It was, in fact, the same year that we started. They were starting big. They had government support. They were publishers, Nigerian Publishers Association, in association with ANA, the Association of Nigerian Authors. And they were talking, I remember then that people were, having something like, contributing at least, in 1999, that was fairly hefty. Something not less than 50,000 naira, just to, be part of that. We were just trying to set up something. But what we thought was that we needed, a massive picnic-like, open space that then didn't just have books. Because our experience of the fairs, over time in Nigeria have been that they have, once you set up these books, if you are not, it sort of looks empty, that you're just passing through book spaces and you're not doing anything other than that. We felt that if you had art and you had music, you had more color,
more creative.
And there will be more retention of the audience in that space. They have an experience. And that's what we thought we were bringing that was different. From day one, we had always emphasized programming. Program is the program of the festival is the core of the festival. The idea that you had panels, that are speaking to themes that are, sort of driven by books. So you don't just have a theme. you have a set of books, that, that basically speak to one issue. And you have people, having read them, come discuss them. So the audience can gain insight to those books.
So am I hearing you say that the Lagos Book and Art Festival was the first book festival in Nigeria?
Yes.
Okay.
In terms of the festival idea, yes.
Shoyinka is the theme for this year's festival. Why that?
Well, the theme of the festival is actually freedom and the world. And the idea is inspired by the fact that we have all these very big, massive global events having their anniversaries in 2014, the fall of the Berlin Wall, democracy in South Africa, our own democracy. South Africa is 20 years in democracy. Berlin Wall fell in 89. And, we have 15 years in democracy. So it's a freedom year in a sense. Now, one person personifies freedom of speech in Nigeria. And that gentleman turns 80 this year. So it just fits that Shoyinka will be the person of the festival. And so, the festival is dedicated to, this freedom that Shoyinka fights for and has been fighting for the past 60 years for all our sakes. And so for the very first day of the festival is dedicated to his works, about maybe 15 or 20 works of Shoyinka that will be discussed and reviewed and torn apart and, by several panels, about 3 panels in all. Professor J. Ifo will be delivering a keynote.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.